Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show, August 19th episode. Keith, I mentioned this in my intro over on Lakers Nation on a podcast I recorded earlier today. I wish it wasn't August 19th. I wish it was September 19th right now. And we'd be gearing up for training camp and all of that. I know you and I, maybe that would add some stress to us if it was, because we still have a bunch of stuff we want to do before training camp start up and everything. But man, it's been just over a week, I think, since the Olympics. I'm ready for it. Bring me more basketball. Let's go.
I'm there, man. I'm ready for the season to come back. I've been enjoying some downtime in a slower pace, but I'm ready for it to come back. But we'll get there. It'll come in due time, right? Well, what is it? Good things come to those who wait, not just catch up, right?
I just got to be patient. All right. Let's get into some of the news, though. There was something I think this is actually a pretty big deal. Guerschon Yabusele, over the weekend, agreed to terms with the Philadelphia 76ers, coming to Philly on a minimum deal. He's restarting his NBA career, taking the success he had with France in the Olympics and parlaying that into a leap back into the NBA. Now, Keith, we talked about this last week about why teams were not signing Yabusele, and part of that is because of this $2.5 million buyout that he had with Real Madrid. I know you're surprised that he actually made this leap and didn't wait another year. How much is he actually going to make on his NBA contract, and how much does he actually have to come out of pocket? Like, what's his net here to actually play in the NBA this season?
Yeah, so because he's a 2 years of service guy, he'll make about 2.1 million total. Now, 850K of that will go to is what the Sixers can pay towards his buyout with Real Madrid. So that knocks that number. So let's knock that down to what's that, about 16, or not even, right? That takes it even lower than that. So about whatever that works out to, 1,300 or so. So then he's going to still owe another like 1,600 or whatever it is on that buyout. So he's actually potentially going to run into Sixers will cover that. So that'll knock his salary down to 1,300, but then whatever he owes, like it's just weird the way it all will come together. In the end, he'll pocket about 400K is about what he stands to actually make himself off of this deal. And that's where it gets really, really tricky, right? Because what happens for Guerschon Yabusele is that he may have negotiated down that buyout, right? He may have negotiated that down to less money. The Sixers can't do more than that 850. There's no way with that. And yes, he'll get in some endorsements and those things. Maybe there's some stuff already lined up for him to help him make back some money. He's obviously gotten paid a couple of years in the NBA already, plus several years over in Europe. So I don't think he's exactly hurting for it, but he's not going to be playing for very much this year.
Okay. So I'll admit, while you were going through the numbers there, I was doing a little bit of the Zach Galifianakis, the numbers floating around me and everything from the hangover. But bottom line, he's going to be positive like $400,000. I look at there's people who are saying, what is he thinking? What's he doing? All this sort of stuff. How is this any different than what Tyus Jones is doing, right? With the Phoenix Suns, where you look at Phoenix, is Tyus Jones, now I know the money's not the exact same, but is Tyus Jones worth a minimum contract? Hell no. He's worth a lot more than that. But what Tyus Jones is doing is saying, hey, there's a path to playing time. There's a starting job even with Phoenix. I'm going to bet that a year from now, I'm going to play my ass off this season. I'm going to be great. And then a year from now, I'm going to get a big contract. And so I know we could look at Guerschon Yabusele and say, well, he's crazy to do this. He's only making X amount of money. Yeah, but he was probably going to come in on a minimum no matter what, right? It was probably going to be a minimum deal. Maybe a team could offer him a little bit more, but it wasn't going to be, it's not like he's getting a full MLE or something like that right out of the gate. So he comes in, he bets on himself. And what his gamble here is that on a 76ers team that badly needs help at the power forward position, you've got some guys who can play it. You've got Caleb Martin. You've got guys like, Paul George can play power forward, but in terms of somebody that actually provides some physicality at that spot, they don't really have that. And so there's a path to playing time here for him. And so he's taken the gamble that next year he's going to get a lot more money. So I think this is something that we've already seen happen this summer, and I kind of commend him for it, because what's the downside here? If you're Yabusele, it doesn't work with the 76ers and you go back to Europe next year and you get a new deal there. That's your floor. That's your downside here. Whereas your upside is, who knows, maybe you're an MLE player next summer if you really show out with the Sixers this year, and you don't have to always wonder, what if I try to capitalize on that Olympic publicity and make that leap again and see if I can make it in the top league in the world. So I think there's a lot of reason for him to do this, and I get it. And I'm actually pretty excited for Philly to land him. I'm curious to see how well he does.
Yeah, I treat this kind of akin to a guy who takes a buyout in the buyout season in the NBA, where it is, yeah, I was making $20 million, but I'm going to lower my buyout number to 15, and then I'll make some of that back by signing on with another team. And I think what's really important in those situations is we're like, okay, I get it, because he wants to compete, he wants to win. And what do we always talk about? In a buyout situation, the money's going to be pretty much the same, which is pretty clear where Yabusele was at, right? It was, I don't think anybody was offering him more than minimum deals. So it was, if I want to come to the NBA, I'm going to take a minimum deal. So then it becomes, well, where can I play? That's going to be number one for him, because he needs enough opportunity to play to prove he's an NBA level guy. Then second to that, where can I win? So Philly offers a path for both of those. As you said, not a ton of depth at the four, especially not in traditional fours. They're probably best traditional four right now is probably KJ Martin. Now their best four that they'll play will be Caleb Martin, or it'll be Paul George. It'll be one of those two guys. But KJ Martin's closest thing to a traditional four, and he's even a little undersized. So Yabusele should be able to come in and crack a rotation spot, I would think, and see rotation minutes early on with them. The big important thing for him is going to be, can he hit NBA length 3-pointers at a decent clip? That's what he did in Real Madrid. That's what he did in the Olympics. He also had some really nice finishes, obviously the notable one where he dunked on LeBron, but he had a lot of nice finishes around that. Played okay defense, hit the glass fairly well, but he's going to have to make open jump shots in the NBA, because that's what teams will challenge him to do. And in the NBA, his lack of size, meaning height in his length, that's going to show up a little bit for him as a finisher around the rim. So we'll see. I mean, I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well. I hope he, fits in there and then turns that minimal investment this year that he's getting in paid into much bigger in years forward. But like you said, he's not really, losing all that much, and it's kind of now or never time for him. It's either you're going to make this, try to make it work now. Otherwise, it's probably we're out on it, because he's going to be 29 in the middle of December. So it's either make one more run at the NBA now or not. And last thing I'll finish with, this proves guys still want to challenge themselves, test themselves in the NBA. Yeah. Players, no matter how big of a star they are in Europe, they at least want to give the NBA a shot at at least one shot if they can, when they have that opportunity. For some guys, it's not for them and they move on, but everybody wants to try it at least once.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important, for a guy like Yabusele to be able to say, hey, I'm going to give this another go, and I'm going to try to prove myself against, the best in the best league. So Yabusele coming in for the Sixers side, not much to say here, just minimal risk. Why not? Why not do this if you can get them, because it's a minimum contract. So very
no risk on their side,
right,
at all. Like they're just
exactly
sure, let's go. Yeah,
why not? Yeah, there's just the opportunity cost of, you could have signed someone else to that minimum contract, but you're getting somebody better in August. No, you're not.
Yeah,
you're not. So this is.
I would say this probably closes the doors for guys they were talking about, like Marcus Morris or maybe Robert Covington making a return there. That's probably out now.
Yeah, good point. I did talk about Guerschon Yabusele yesterday on the Basketball Bulletin, broke down some of the footage on him and things like that. I'll put the link to that in the description down below for you guys to check out. Make sure you subscribe there as well. All right, let's jump over. Let's stay in the Eastern Conference for right now. And the Orlando Magic, Paulo Banchero had some comments recently about how the Orlando Magic are right there with the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. Now, right now, Keith, in summer, we're here in August again. it's easy to be optimistic. Everybody's optimistic. Everybody made all the moves they wanted to make, except for the Lakers. And everybody feels really good, right, about where they're at. Is this just summer optimism, or do you think there is truth behind what Paulo Banchero is saying here?
I think he is right to feel this way, and he should feel that way. I think they're a notch below the best teams in the East. I've got Boston, New York, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia ahead of them, but I think they're in that next group with Indiana, Cleveland, and themselves. And probably Miami. It just all kind of depends with the Heat how seriously they take the regular season. Are they injured or not? They're healthy. They're in that group, and I really think it's like Boston up here. Then you've got Knicks, Bucks, Sixers in that next group. Put them in any order you want. Yeah, probably for the regular season, I think.
Okay.
Because I think you're going to see the Bucks and the Sixers kind of one, Tibbs doesn't take his foot off the gas. I think they will take their feet off the gas just to kind of say, hey, let's, we got to get Embiid and George and Giannis and Dame to the playoffs and healthy. If we're going to, it doesn't matter if we win 65 games in the regular season. They're not healthy in April, May, and June. It doesn't matter. We're not going to win. So, yeah. So, and we'll see. Maybe one of those teams takes their foot enough off that Orlando or Cleveland or Indiana or maybe Miami, if they have a really good healthy year, can jump up and surpass them. But I've got the Magic in that second tier group of teams.
I'd agree with that. I think the case for Orlando. Now I'm out on the Bucks this year. They've burned me 2 years in a row. So I don't mean out like they're not even a playoff team or whatever.
Sure.
Just I'm not putting them in the top tier or anything like that. To me, they're in a prove-it situation. But I've got Orlando as a team that's sitting there with Cleveland, with Indiana. I mean, as you're seeing here on the Eastern Conference table from last year, I think they're in that mix. I would have the 76ers ahead of them as well. I think Orlando, you're banking on two things. You're banking on organic growth from guys like Banchero, guys like Franz Wagner, guys like Jalen Suggs, who is a joy to watch when he's playing defense. It's a lot of fun. And then you're also banking on the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope addition really paying dividends and being a big difference maker. Now, here's the other thing, though. If you are the type of person that doesn't watch the Magic play a lot of basketball, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is not a guy who's going to put up numbers that pop off the box score. So if you just do box score surfing, you might jump around and go, oh, he's not really making that much of a difference. No, what you need to do is watch the games and see what he does for their spacing, see what he does for them defensively. Those types of things don't always jump off the page on the box score. So there's going to be some indications there, though, in terms of the overall quality of the team if KCP is able to make that kind of an impact. But you get both of those things to happen. Paulo Banchero takes another big step forward. You get Franz Wagner to take another big step forward. Then maybe they could be kind of like, I don't even want to even then put them in that top group, but like at least kind of right there, nipping at the heels and maybe a piece away or something like that. That is what I think the ceiling is for this Magic side this year. I don't see them as realistically getting into that group. So I think it's a little bit of summertime optimism here from Paulo Banchero, but like you said, he should feel this way. He should feel optimistic about his team and where they can go because they are a club that's on the rise. I just think they're not quite there just yet.
Yeah, I think with the Magic, a successful season for them this year would be to win a round in the playoffs. Get to the second round. That'd be a hugely successful season. And even that's a challenge, right? Because you've got to, as much as the East is not as deep as the West is, there are a lot of good, there are 8 teams that should legitimately be good in the East. It's the same 8 teams as it was a year ago. Now, it won't be. One of those 8 teams is going to have a season where everything kind of goes sideways on them and it falls apart. Now, the question is, will they be bad enough that the other 7 bad teams in the East can catch them? That part we'll see, right? That remains to be seen. But I really do think that we're in a spot where I think what we'll see here is sorry, Amazon's here, in case anybody was wondering. Yeah, I think what's going to be really interesting to see here with Orlando is, can their offense improve enough to supplement what's already one of the best defenses in the league? I
Yeah.
know Jamal Mosley and his staff are sitting there kind of dreaming up unleashing Jalen Suggs and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope on opposing backcourts and just saying, go wreak havoc on them. And that's probably going to be exactly how it goes. But in order for them to take that leap and become a team that is competitive to win a playoff series or more, the offense needs to be a lot better. In order for that to happen, Franz Wagner's jump shot needs to be found. Whatever lost and found bin it's sitting in somewhere out there, somebody's got to go find it, pick it up, and return it to him. Because right now he can't make a jumper, and until that happens, we're in trouble with him.
It's sitting there with all the jackets and things like that at the end of the school year that are just in that bin. That's where it's at. I mean, here's if you want the optimistic view on that. 35% from three his rookie year, 36% from three his sophomore year, his second year. Third year, 28% from three. That's not good, but he's been 86, 84, 85% from three, or from the free throw line. From three would be incredible. From the free throw line in all 3 years. That, to me, the fact that he's been that consistent from the line, and oftentimes free throw percentage can be an indication of overall shooting talent. I'm willing to seriously entertain the possibility that Franz Wagner's jumper going MIA last season, particularly the three-point shot, was just a down shooting year, which does happen from time to time. Just like we see up shooting years. That year, Danny Green shot like 45, 46% from three. Is he normally going to do that? No. Just like we see up shooting years, we can also see down years. I would lean more towards that being the case with Franz Wagner because of the consistency from the free throw line and what we saw from three the prior 2 seasons on relatively similar volume to what we saw this past season from behind the arc. So I think that number is going to come up this coming season.
So I very much hope you're right. Here's what I'll counter with my worry. The World Cup 2 summers ago and the Olympics this summer. In the World Cup, 25% from three. In the Olympics, 20% from three. So now those are super duper small sample size. We're talking like 10, 11, 12 total games between those 2 contests, but didn't shoot it well in the exhibitions either, leading up to either one of those events with another poor season. And here's the funny thing. They didn't change his shot because we'll see that, right? A guy will change his a complete shot. He'll change his form. And then all of a sudden it all goes haywire on him. Didn't do any of that stuff. Like it's just, they're just not going in. He's still generating clean looks. It looks like it's not like he's missing wide or short or, anything like that or long. He's not bricking these jump shots. They're just not going in. So I really don't know what's happened with it, but yeah, I'm with you. Too good of a shooter in every other phase, whether that be the shorter pull-ups from the free throw line. I think it will come back, but for the Magic to be a good enough offensive team, it has to, because Paolo Banchero needs him. Banchero's awesome, right? He's going to be great. He'll probably be an all-star again this year, or should be. But he needs his running mate, who needs to be Franz Wagner, out of the guys on the offense to really, propel this team to a new level.
Now, we have seen it's rare. Usually as guys' careers go on, unless they, their role changes on a team where they step into a bigger role, defenses are more focused on them. Typically, those shooting percentages improve as a player gets older, as a player goes further into their career. We have seen situations like, the glaring one, Russell Westbrook, who was an 80+% free throw shooter for the first 9 years of his career, and then suddenly forgot how to shoot free throws and has been 60, in the 60s essentially since then, with save for, a season or something. But that is more of a rarity, though. Typically, we do see percentages improve as time goes on. So again, I'm optimistic about the shot, but I get it. And look, if the first, let's say, month of the season, he's still sitting at like 28% from three or something, or maybe even a little bit worse. Okay, that's where it's time to really get concerned about what's going on there.
Yeah, and that's where we've all talked about, right? This team needs to add more shooting. Shooting. Well, Jalen Suggs shot it pretty good last year. Gary Harris shot it pretty good last year. Caldwell-Pope is going to help for sure. You essentially, if you really want to boil it down to its simplest things, the Magic's big upgrade was KCP for Markelle Fultz. And I like Markelle Fultz. I'm rooting for him. I find it a little odd he hasn't signed somewhere yet. I
Yeah,
feel like he definitely should be in the league. He's at a very minimum a backup guard on a competitive team. I'm sure it'll come eventually and he'll find his way on a roster somewhere. But KCP's an upgrade. He's a better defensive player and he's a more consistent shooter, and he's a shooter in different ways. Fultz needs the ball in his hands. KCP doesn't. He's not going to take away from Banchero's playmaking, from Wagner's playmaking, from Suggs learning to be a
sure.
more of a playmaker as well. But you still need that shooting threat, and that's going to be something that's going to have to get worked out at some point, because you can't go into it with Wendell Carter Jr. can hit some shots, but no one's really stressing their defense about him, right? If he hits 5 3-pointers and you lose, you tip your cap and you move on and dare him to do it again. If you have him, and then if teams start to drift from Franz, it's just going to make it really hard on Banchero to find those lanes to operate inside. So let's hope he figures it out and they get there, because if he does, Franz Wagner is an all-star level guy. Like because he's got everything else. He's a good playmaker. He's a better defender than he gets credit for, and he's a really good scorer, despite the fact that he can't knock down an outside jumper right now.
Well, hopefully the jumper gets found. The lost and found bin, it's discovered. He rifles through all the different jackets and things like that from winter that are still sitting there, and he's able to find that thing. All right, let's jump over to this. So Rich Paul asked the Lakers and Warriors not to pursue a LeBron James trade. Kind of a weird situation where last year at the trade deadline, Joe Lacob, the owner of the Golden State Warriors, called up Jeannie Buss and said, "Hey, let's talk LeBron trade." And rather than say no, Jeannie Buss said, "Well, why don't you ask LeBron? Talk to LeBron about it. See what he thinks." And I guess you can look at that as well. Jeannie's very confident that LeBron doesn't want to leave and all that. And that's basically what ultimately came of it. It was communicated that LeBron was not interested in joining the Warriors, and that was that. That was the end of that. But our pal Mark Stein said that the reason why was because Rich Paul asked both teams, like, no, don't try to pursue this trade, because he was worried about the effect on LeBron in terms of the backlash he would receive if LeBron moved to another team again and then played for a fourth NBA team. What do you think about that? Because I talked about this already for Lakers Nation. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because that's maybe an unusual reason to scuttle a trade.
Yeah, first of all, I get it, right? An agent's job is to protect their player and make sure that people think it's just about getting them the most money. Well, guess what? LeBron's already got the most money. So that part, well done. You did that
Mission
part
accomplished.
of the job. Yeah. So now it's about making sure he stays in good situations, right? And I don't know how much criticism there would have been. Of course, there would have been some, right? Nobody can sign anywhere without people making jokes, but that's what people do nowadays. True, actual criticism, I don't know that there would have been a ton. I think it would have been two aging, forgive the pun, but two aging warriors teaming up together to go back into battle one more time, right? Like that's how the story, I think, would have probably played out is, hey, they're teaming up to go and let's go get this done. I mean, there would have been criticism, because there always is. And let's just say LeBron went to the Warriors and the Warriors made the finals or even won a title. Well, then there would have been a lot of, he had to team up with Steph to get that title and all the things that would have been said then. But I don't know. I kind of almost want to go visit that branch timeline to find out, what happened when the trade did happen in that alternate universe. Was there a ton of criticism? But it's a little weird to me. And, in the end, probably played out how it should. I mean, at this point, it's absolutely right. Like, because I've seen now as this has come out, some of the rehashing of that whole, like Lakers ownership was actually maybe on board with it. Well,
yeah,
I think it was more, we're going to pay LeBron the ultimate respect and say, tell us what you want to do here, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you want to go and there's a deal to be made, because that's also not a, deal done, right? Because that could have been, no, we're not taking back, a bunch of junk. We're not
Andrew
taking back
Wiggins, we don't want his
Wiggins
contract back and stuff like that. Yeah.
So that would have been, let's find a right. If we can find the right deal, all right, let's figure it out. We can. Presumably they would have, but yeah, and I think that's probably how 99% of situations would have played out. Where, and it seems even weird to say this because no one's ever been in LeBron's situation, but there's a handful of guys they're only getting traded if they go to their team and say, "All right, I'm done. I'm ready to
Yeah,
go somewhere else, or I want to try to win one more." And it's funny because the guy on the other side of this is Steph Curry, is in that same boat. The Warriors are never trading him unless he goes to the Warriors and says, "All right, I want to go somewhere else because I want to try to win one more."
absolutely. And LeBron is very much in the same situation now. Maybe I don't think he even has to have it, but LeBron does have a no trade clause. So that could complicate things to a degree. Now, again, like you said, though, the Lakers would, pay LeBron the ultimate respect and say, what do you want to do? If the Lakers said, hey, we're going to trade you to the Warriors, but Steph Curry's coming back the other way.
Yeah,
And LeBron said, well, no, I don't want to do that or something like that. Even if he didn't have a no trade clause, they wouldn't, do that. Obviously, that's an extreme hypothetical, but LeBron does have the ability where let's say LeBron loves Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know, just throwing a name out there. Let's say LeBron loves Jonathan Kuminga, and Jonathan Kuminga is in the trade coming back. LeBron could say, "No, I've got a no trade clause. I'm going to decline this trade then because I want to play with this guy." And we have seen that happen in trade situations in the past. Again, I don't think we're going back down this road. The Lakers very much don't want to trade LeBron. I think LeBron and Steph had a great time playing together with Team USA. But I don't think we're ultimately going to wind up in this place. It's just something worth noting because it's also not completely impossible for this to come up again because we know the
sure.
Warriors are interested. We know they made that call this last season. That could become, what if the Lakers get off to a slow start? What if at the trade deadline they're not a playoff team at that point? Then does this conversation come up again? And then what does that look like? That's where I think it starts to get more realistic if we're living in that world. If the Lakers start out and they're playing well, if the Warriors are playing well, whatever, then I don't see a scenario where the Lakers would be. Regardless, I don't think the Lakers would be enthusiastic about trading LeBron at all, and especially given the fact that Bronny is now a Laker, I have a hard time imagining LeBron saying, "Hey, son, welcome to the team. See you later. I'm
Yeah,
out."
right. I have
But
to
yeah, I
imagine
don't
that
think
would
it's gonna
be
happen
we're sliding Bronny into this deal
into the
somehow
trade.
too, and we're gonna make it work to send them off wherever they're going. Yeah, and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and I don't even think there's a world, and I get where some people feel like, why do the Lakers have to give LeBron that? Like Steph's been with the Warriors for 16 years or whatever it's been. LeBron's been with the Lakers. I don't even know how many years. What is it, six
6 now, yeah.
years or something like that. But he's LeBron. Like that's why won a
Mhm.
title for you, became the all-time leading scorer with the Lakers. They're just paying him the proper respect by saying, "Hey, are you even interested in this Warriors thing?" But again, I just think it's so important to know at the time the reporting was, then we'll start the conversation if you're even interested. It
Yeah.
wasn't, well, then it's done. We're sending
No.
you out the door with that. So yeah, I think it's funny. Hey, I wanted to ask you, did you see ESPN did their team, like it's their summer forecast series where they like do some like summer predictions for things?
Mhm.
Did you see the team that they said is like they think is gonna like fall the furthest? Who got it? They called them Team Turmoil. So
Team
like team
turmoil.
that'll
I'm
like
assuming
fall
it's
off
the
the
Lakers
bottom.
because there's always turmoil around the
Yeah.
Lakers.
Yep.
Um, but that's the team
Yeah.
they predicted,
They
and
they got
I think you can make that
53.
case.
They got 53 points, which I don't know how the point system went. It's not interesting enough to for me to go look. But they were double the Clippers, who were 25th. I struggle out in a normal world, normal injuries. Guys miss 10, 15, 20 games. Outside of a major player for the Lakers, so LeBron or AD, missing 50, 60 games basically the season, I can't see a world where they finish behind the Clippers in the standings this year. I just can't see it. Like unless it's LeBron misses 40 and AD misses 40 and they're not the same 40, right? Like I struggle to see where they're worse than the Clippers this year as far as where they were, right? Like
Mhm.
falling down in the standings. Like I don't know. That part did that seemed a little like, okay, I guess. Sure, why not? But I don't know, a little weird to me.
Well, and Keith, this is perfectly on brand. You are known for if you're known for anything, and it's for your optimism about the Lakers. So, so, but you look at stuff like that, and I'm assuming what you're talking. They did like a vote or something like that, and they had all these.
Yeah,
different
it's like
people.
it's like a bunch of their writers like got
Okay.
together and did it. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they do it every year, and it's the same like questions that they ask every year and that kind of stuff.
it's more it's more interesting if the pick is the Lakers,
Sure.
right? For it to
Yeah.
be team turn, there's gonna be more people that go, oh my gosh, it's the Lakers, than if it's the Clippers, right? I mean, that's just the way that it is. So I think that can be an element to this, but it's also, look, we know LeBron wants to win right now. The Lakers didn't do anything this summer. They didn't make any, notable additions to the team that aren't, rookie players that they brought in. They need to make a trade. There's tension there. There's pressure there on the team to do something. So
Sure.
I understand why you could look at this and say, you know what? What if they can't find a trade? What if it's January and they can't find a trade? Like, how mad is LeBron going to be at that point? What happens that, I mean, there could be some rough seas ahead. So I get that. Oh God, I just made a Clippers pun with that, with the rough seas thing, especially since they're leaning into the ship thing now. But anyway, I get it. I get why people could look at the Lakers and say, hey, there's dark skies ahead, if we want to go that way. But I do think you're right. I think the Clippers losing Paul George is a really, really big deal. And I don't know how much I trust Kawhi Leonard to stay healthy anyway. There's some good players on that roster, but you know what? If the Clippers are bad and the Lakers are just okay, there's going to be a lot more said about the Lakers being just okay than the Clippers being bad. And I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, because everyone will go to, well, we thought the Clippers would fall off because of X,
Yeah.
Y, and Z and all that. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. Yeah, I feel like by the time we hit December 15th, any Lakers not named LeBron James Jr., or Anthony Davis, you better make sure you're pretty flexible with where your next address is going to be. Like that,
True.
that's, it's probably going to start pretty quick when, trade season actually opens. That's when we're going to start hearing a lot of stuff.
Keith, if the Lakers had the ability in a purely hypothetical situation to land a star level player, but the opposing team said, we want Bronny in the deal, does LeBron sign off on it? What happens?
Oh man. Imagine if he didn't. Like that'd be
Either way.
Yeah.
If he didn't, if he does.
I mean, if he does, you look at it and it's like, all right, he got him the contract in the first place, right? So like at least he helped him get there, and now he's, ruthless and shipping him out, right? It's like when you're playing with your kid and you're in the driveway and you're blocking every shot they take and you're giving them a Matumbo finger wag on top of it.
You're just giving them the finger.
But yeah, man, I more imagine like if it was like, no, the deal was killed because they couldn't get Bronny, and it was like, I don't even know who we're talking about, but Star X, like,
yeah.
Oh my, I can't even imagine what would happen then. Like that would 100% seal his fate with the. Right, we've talked about it before, the division in Lakers fans, Lakers fans,
goodness.
LeBron fans, and fans of both. Like that would 100% seal his fate with the where Lakers fans only. Like he'd be done to them for life.
The Venn diagram of Lakers fans, LeBron fans, and both would just become like the nuclear waste symbol. You know what I'm talking about? Like that, it would just morph into that. It would be
100%.
It would be a disaster. It'd be a disaster. And maybe that would truly be team turmoil at that point.
Yeah.
All right.
And then imagine if then he opted out and left.
Oh God. Now you're really on brand here.
Let's go.
Your dark path.
I went down that alternate timeline pretty far.
You really did. All right. Let's leave this evil place and get over here. The Nuggets interested in Yabusele Micic. Did I say it correct? Yabusele?
You did. Yeah,
I did. Okay. I'm always,
well done.
Hesitant when I'm pronouncing his name, but the Nuggets have some interest in him. Played on the Serbian national team with Jokic, but how do they acquire? The Nuggets are not in a super flexible position. So how do you acquire him?
Yeah, that's their challenge, right? So they are, as we go today, they're about 5.1 million under the second apron. They're over the first apron. They are hard capped at the second apron because they use their taxpayer Emily to sign Dario Saric. So they don't have a lot of wiggle room. The one that everybody kind of keeps going to is, well, you trade Zeke Najee, right, at $8.8 million.
Mhm.
Trade him out. Micic makes about 7.7, and you actually saved yourself some money, and you got yourself a backup point guard. I think this is probably one where, hey, we're interested. Let's touch base later, right? Let's touch base in the end of November, around Christmas. Let's see how Russell Westbrook fits in as the backup point guard. Let's
Sure.
see if the real Jamal Murray comes back and not the Monstars version that took all his powers away from the Olympics. Like, let's see what he looks like. And let's see, do we need Zeke Najee? Is he actually finally figured it out and playing real minutes for us and playing well? So that's I think probably where the question is. And I think if you're the Hornets, if it was, let's just say it was straight up Zeke Najee, because remember, the Nuggets can't combine. They couldn't like combine Sarge and Westbrook to get him because they can't combine salaries because they're over the first apron. Um, to bring back more money,
Right.
or like it just gets very messy for them to do that. So I think we'd be in a spot where if it was just Najee, all right, why not? If I'm the Hornets, I'm still rebuilding. Take a shot and see. Nuggets fans' reaction to this, though, was not at all positive. They were like, no
Mhm.
way. We don't want this guy. Go get Alexa Vramovic, another Serbian guard who played really
Mhm.
well in the Olympics. That's the guy. They're like, hey, if we're adding a guard from Serbia, he wants to come to the NBA. That's the rumor from this weekend. Go get him. Bring him in, and let's have him on the team versus going and getting signing or trading for Micic.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I think a lot of it is going to depend on, like you said, the Russell Westbrook experiment. What happens with Russ? Does it work? Does it not? And is there that urgency? That's probably what it's
Yep.
going to come down here for the Denver Nuggets, which is of course something we're all going to be keeping an eye on that Westbrook situation because his playing style doesn't fit what the Nuggets have really tried to be. So it'll be interesting to see. But again, I mean, he's been an MVP. He's been an incredibly talented player over the course of his career. Is he able to come in for 15 minutes or so and just hold down the turbo button the whole time and be a disruptor and be a difference maker out there or not? And how that plays out over the first few months will ultimately probably determine what the Nuggets do or don't do here on the Micic front. Last thing that we've got for today, Eric Spoelstra or Ty Lue, right now the favorites to become the next Team USA coach. Steve Kerr seems like he's done. He won his gold medal. He's going to ride off into the sunset. I don't blame him. Keith, we both had some issues with some of his decision making this summer. Lou Spoelstra, is this, to me, I look at this and I just think, well, I mean, you can't really go wrong here. Like, I think Eric Spoelstra is considered by many to be the best coach in the NBA. So I would give him the edge. But Ty Lue is also respected as a very, very good head coach. So, I mean, you've got two fantastic candidates here to become the next Team USA head coach. And I look at this and think, man, as much as we can look ahead to that 2028 roster and what's there, what's not there, all that kind of stuff, the U.S. is in great shape on the coaching front.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I lean Spoelstra slightly. Some of the concepts he uses with Miami are already, I think, more led themselves to the international game. He's been a
Sure.
big proponent of zone defenses, of changing his defenses on the fly. Now that's a little harder to do in Team USA because you don't have any practice time. You don't
Right.
have any time to build that up. And if you're gonna morph your defense, especially within plays, that can be really tricky to pull off. But I like that. I like him a lot too if it's the World Cup portion of this, because they'll obviously, whoever it is going to coach the team in the 2027 FIBA World Cup and the 2028 Olympics, or
Mm-hmm.
presumably that's how it'll work. I like his ability. What he's done with Miami is he pretty regularly is very good at doing more with less. Like, they're always without guys in Miami. Guys are always getting hurt, and he still puts a really good competitive team on the floor. I'd like to see what he could do with a really good roster. Obviously, we're going to send a good
Yeah.
roster, but let's face it, that World Cup roster. I don't know how much you've even looked into this. It's in Qatar, so I don't
Mm.
think too many guys are going to be like, yeah, let's go halfway around the world in the summertime where it's 130 degrees and I can't go outside all summer long. Like, I don't know how many guys are going to be jumping at that. Whereas, like, I mean, we already saw they asked Anthony Davis, and his response was like, yeah, I do it again. They're like, oh, the World Cup or the Olympics? He's like, no, the Olympics. Like, kind of
Yeah.
laughed at it. But that's, I think almost every guy on that roster is probably going to have the same kind of
Mhm.
approach to it. So I'd like the idea of Spoelstra with that team a little bit more than maybe Lou, because we've never really seen what does Ty Lue look like when he doesn't have a team that has a star or two to kind of orbit things around. What's that going to look like?
Just as a in terms of his problem-solving ability, I agree. I think I would give the nod to Spoelstra. Again, I wouldn't be upset with Lou either. And you look at that World Cup team, and I wonder if that's where, like, does Anthony Edwards go play for and really cement himself as like the
Yeah, it could.
guy? That's maybe a conversation for another day when we start looking at who could play on that World Cup team. They can try to find some diamonds in the rough there, but I think again, you can't really go wrong here on the coaching front. Spoelstra is the guy that I would lean towards, and I think you brought up some really good points in terms of why you would go with him. I think he's generally regarded as probably the best coach in the NBA. I'd be excited to see him get the pieces that the U.S. Olympic team could offer. But again, if it's Ty Lue, you go, hey, it's Ty Lue. He's a great coach as well. And I would just hope that if that's the case, that Eric Spoelstra is still involved, that he's still involved as an assistant or something like that. But again, right now, I think I would, if I had to pick, I would lean definitely towards Spoelstra.
Yeah, and if they pick Ty Lue, I'm all in on that too. Clearly, I think
Yeah.
Ty Lue, I hope he's still a part of things, even if he's not the next head coach, because a big part, especially once we get to the Olympics, is the managing of egos. And that's something that we know he excels at. He's just
Yes.
had teams, both places he's coached in his career that have been very deep with a lot of good players. And he does a wonderful job making sure everybody kind of stays on task. They're all attached to the same end goal. He does a nice job with that too. So like you said, they're great hands either way. It's got to be one of the two of them. It's anybody else, I'm going to be shocked. But yeah, it'll be fun to kind of watch how this plays out as they gear up for what looks like it's probably going to be very different teams the next
Yeah.
two times we see Team USA in two major tournaments.
Exactly. All right, everybody. Well, make sure you do subscribe to the NBA Front Office Show here on YouTube. Check out the Basketball Bulletin as well. We'll put the links to that in the description down below. Thank you, everybody. Can't guarantee we'll be back tomorrow. This time of year, it depends on how much news is out and all that sort of stuff. But we will definitely be back. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be the day after. Once we get into the season, we'll be back on 5 days a week out here bringing you the latest around the league. So make sure you do subscribe, turn on those notifications, and before you get out of here, like this video as well. Till next time, everybody. See ya and stay safe.